The Dyatlov Pass Incident, the mystery of the missing tongues. Deep in the Ural Mountains of Russia, there is a peak the local Mansi people call Kolatsiakl. In their language, it means dead mountain. In January 1959, 10 young, elite hikers set out to conquer it. They were some of the most experienced climbers in the Soviet Union. But by the time February arrived, 9 of them were dead. Not from a simple fall, and not from a common storm. They died in a way that defied every law of survival. When rescuers finally reached their last campsite, they found a scene that looked like a nightmare frozen in time. The tent was still standing, but it had been sliced open from the inside, slashed by desperate hands trying to escape something. Something that was already inside with them. The footprints told a story of pure madness. 9 sets of tracks led away from the tent, moving toward the forest in the pitch-black, -30-degree night. Some were barefoot. Others wore only a single sock. They weren't running. They were walking calmly toward their own deaths. The first 2 bodies were found under a massive cedar tree, their hands charred and bloody, as if they had tried to climb the frozen bark with their bare skin until they simply froze solid. But it was the others, found months later deep in a ravine, that turned this mystery into a horror story. One woman was missing her tongue and her eyes. Another hiker had his skull crushed, but the skin showed no sign of an impact. It was as if an invisible, immense pressure had simply collapsed his bones from within. The Soviet investigators were baffled. There were no signs of other humans for hundreds of miles, no animal tracks, just 9 hikers and a mountain that seemed to have turned against them. Then came the anomalies. Their clothing was saturated with high levels of radiation, a physical impossibility for a simple hiking trip. Witnesses from nearby villages reported seeing strange, glowing orange spheres floating in the sky that very night. Was it a secret Soviet weapons test? A prototype sonic weapon that triggered a state of primal, uncontrollable fear? Or did they stumble upon something that didn't belong to this world? The lead investigator, Lev Ivanov, wanted to dig deeper, but the Kremlin suddenly ordered the case closed. They blamed it on a compelling natural force and buried the files for decades. But nature doesn't crush ribs like a car crash, and nature doesn't leave radioactive ghosts behind. Decades later, a new theory emerged. Scientists believe the wind blowing over the dome of the mountain might have created infrasound, a frequency so low the human ear can't hear it, but the human brain reacts to it with pure chemical terror. It causes nausea, hallucinations, and an overwhelming urge to run. Imagine being trapped in your tent, and suddenly, every cell in your body tells you that you are about to die. You rip the fabric, you run into the blizzard, and you keep running until your heart stops. But even that doesn't explain the missing eyes. It doesn't explain the radiation. The Dyatlov Pass remains an open wound in the history of the unknown. 9 lives, lost to a force we still can't name. As I piece together this machine, I can't help but think about how fragile our understanding of the world really is. We build things to last. We create engines that follow rules. But out there, in the dark corners of the earth, the rules don't always apply. The mountain still stands, silent and cold, keeping its secrets buried deep under the ice. Subscribe to DD Media for more deep dives into the shadows of history. And remember, The next time you hear the wind howling, make sure it's just the wind.